My dad slept with my wife on our wedding day, and she defended him when I found out. My mom slapped him in front of everyone. I never thought the worst day of my life would be the same day that was supposed to be the happiest. Everything was going perfectly. The ceremony was beautiful. The reception was full of people laughing and celebrating, and I was at a level of happiness I had never felt before, until I saw something that ripped my soul out in a second. I was walking back to the hall after a short chat with my mother when I heard a strange noise, a moan. I stopped, I looked around. It did not seem like anyone else had heard it. I got a little closer, and there it was, the slightly open door of a utility room. My wife, the woman I had just married, the woman with whom I had exchanged vows just a few hours ago, was naked, panting, her body entangled with that of an older man. Not just any man, my dad. I felt like my body was shutting down. My head was filled with an unbearable noise, like a beep that would not let me hear anything else. My heart was beating so hard I thought I was going to faint. And they did not even notice me right away. My dad was the first to see me. His face went from pleasure to surprise, and then to panic in less than a second. He pulled away from her abruptly, stumbling as he tried to cover himself with the first thing he found. My wife turned, and when her eyes met mine, she froze. She did not say anything. She did not scream. She just looked at me with the guiltiest face I have ever seen in my life. I do not remember when I screamed, but my throat burned. I do not know what I said. I only know that my body moved on its own. I lunged at my dad with a rage I had never felt before. I grabbed him by the neck and pushed him against the wall so hard that I felt the shelves behind him creak. "How could you? You son of an expletive," my wife yelled, trying to separate us. But I pushed her away without even looking at her. My dad tried to say something, babbling like a damn coward, but I did not give him a chance. My fist flew straight to his face, and that is when everything spiraled out of control. My fist hit his face so hard that I felt the crunch of his nose breaking under my knuckles. I do not know if it was the sound or the feeling that shook me more, but at that moment I did not care. I wanted to kill him. My dad fell to the floor, holding his hands to his face as blood gushed between his fingers. My wife screamed his name and threw herself at him, covering him with her body as if she were protecting him from me. "What is wrong with you?" she yelled, looking at me in terror. What was wrong with me? What was wrong with me? The rage inside me was uncontrollable. My whole body was shaking. My breathing was a mess. My hands were tense, ready to keep hitting. The woman who was supposed to love me, the woman with whom I had just said I do a few hours earlier, was protecting the man who had just destroyed my life. What a father. I could not believe it. I did not want to believe it. It all felt like a nightmare, as if at any moment I was going to wake up in my bed with a message from my wife saying good morning, love. But this was real, too real. "Get up, you disgusting expletive," I growled at my dad. He barely moved. His face was bloody, his nose twisted, and one eye was starting to swell. He was gasping as if it was hard for him to breathe. "Do you have any idea what you did?" I yelled, kicking him in the leg. My wife cried, hugging him tighter as if she were the victim. "Stop, please, stop," she begged, looking at me with eyes full of tears. That made me feel even more disgusted. I wanted to vomit. How dare she cry? She was the one who betrayed me. The sound of hurried footsteps snapped me out of my trance. Someone was coming. The door was still open, and the screams had surely caught the attention of the guests. I had to do something before anyone else saw this expletive scene. My father tried to speak, but his voice was weak and shaky. "Son, shut up," I shouted so loudly that I felt my throat tear. I could not listen to him. I did not want to listen to him. I turned and left the room with my heart pounding in my chest, as if it wanted to come out. My vision was clouded by rage and betrayal. The wedding music was still playing in the distance, as if all this was a damn play. No one out there knew that while they danced and toasted to our love, my wife was screwing my dad in a damn utility room. The thought of people finding out what happened made me feel even worse. What would my family do if they knew this? How could I look my mother in the eyes after this? How could I look at anyone without feeling like the biggest idiot in the world? But I could not leave it like this. I could not just walk away and pretend nothing happened. Not after what I saw. So I took a deep breath. I wiped the sweat from my forehead with the sleeve of my shirt. I made sure. They were going to find out. I walked back to the hall with my body burning, my hands shaking, and my head buzzing. I tasted metal in my mouth. as if rage itself had turned into blood. My heart was beating so fast I could barely hear the murmurs around me. Some guests were looking at me strangely, probably because my face was contorted. My chest was rising and falling as if I had just run a marathon, but nobody really cared. They were still laughing, drinking, dancing. My wedding was still a celebration for everyone except me. I approached the main table and took a microphone. No one paid attention to me at first. The band was still playing, and people were still toasting. But when I tapped the microphone hard to test it, the sound boomed through the speakers, and everyone turned to look at me. "I want to say a few words," I said with a tense voice, controlling the fury that threatened to make me explode. My mother looked at me with a smile from the table where she was sitting with my aunts, uncles, and cousins. My best friend raised his glass as if he was ready to celebrate another toast. Everyone expected me to say something emotional, something that would make people cry with happiness. I had no idea. I took a deep breath and spoke with my voice trembling with rage. "I just want to thank you all for being here, for joining us on this very special day. It truly means a lot to me." Some people applauded. My wife was not in the hall yet, surely still with my father in that damn room, trying to think of a way to save herself, as if there was anything she could do. I swallowed and continued. "But I also want to share something I just discovered, something that will change this day forever." The atmosphere shifted. People began to murmur among themselves. A few nervous laughs escaped as if they thought I was going to make a joke. "Do you remember when I said in my vows that I trusted my wife with all my heart?" I let out a dry, bitter laugh. Well, it seems I was a complete idiot. The murmurs got louder. My mother frowned with concern. My best friend looked at me in confusion. And then, as if the expletive scene was perfectly timed, the side door of the hall opened and my wife walked in. Her face was pale, her eyes were red, her hair was disheveled, and her wedding dress was a bit wrinkled, as if she had dressed in a hurry. She did not look like the happy woman who walked into the church a few hours ago. She looked like someone trapped in a fire. Behind her, my dad appeared. He was walking a little slower, with a swollen nose and traces of dried blood on his face. He had cleaned himself up as best he could, but the marks of my fist were still visible. He stood at the door as if he was hesitating to enter, but it was too late. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said with a broken voice, holding the microphone so tightly that my knuckles were white, "allow me to introduce you to the most despicable man at this wedding, my own father." Absolute silence fell over the hall. No one understood anything. I could feel the confusion floating in the air, the glances crossing between the guests, trying to decipher what the hell was going on. My father raised his hand as if he wanted to say something, but I did not let him. "And I also want to introduce you to the woman who swore eternal love to me just a few hours ago, the woman I planned to spend the rest of my life with, the woman who just screwed my dad in a utility room." Chaos erupted in a second. A deafening murmur swept through the room, followed by exclamations of surprise, muffled screams, and the sound of glasses falling to the floor. Someone let out a "it cannot be," while others simply gaped, looking at my wife and my father as if they were monsters. My mother stood up abruptly, putting a hand over her mouth. Her voice was barely a whisper. My wife started walking towards me with eyes full of tears, shaking her head desperately. "It is not what you think." Her voice sounded broken, but I did not want to hear it anymore. "Do not you dare say that," I yelled, feeling all the pain burning inside me. "Do not you dare stand here in front of all these people and say that this is not what it seems like what I saw. There is nothing you can say that will change that." People were in shock. Some of my aunts were murmuring among themselves with their hands over their mouths, while others just watched the scene without knowing what to do. My best friend stood up looking at me in disbelief. "Bro, what is going on?" But before I could answer, my mother turned to my father with a face contorted by rage. "Tell me it is not true." My father opened his mouth, but no sound came out. "Tell me it is not true, you damn pig." My mother took a glass of wine from the table and, without thinking twice, threw it directly in his face. The red liquid spread across his face and shirt as if it were marking him with his shame. That was enough for people to explode. Some guests stood up, others began to take out their phones to record, and the murmurs turned into an uncontrollable roar. My wife turned to my mother with tears streaming down her cheeks. "Please, But my mother did not want to hear it. "You are a disgrace," she spat with venom. "How dare you do this to my son?" My wife covered her face, sobbing. My father tried to approach my mother, but she backed away as if his mere presence disgusted her. I just watched them, feeling like my body was floating out of me, as if I was no longer there, as if this was not really happening. But it was, and this was just the beginning. The hall was hell. People were murmuring, some were yelling, others were simply staring at us with wide eyes. Several people had their phones in hand, recording every second of my humiliation. The music had stopped completely. All you could hear were the whispers, the exclamations, and the sobs of my mother and my wife. But I did not care about any of that. I did not feel ashamed. I did not feel sorry. I only felt a boiling rage in my blood, a need to destroy everything in front of me. My dad was still there, his shirt soaked in wine, breathing heavily, his face bloodied, his expression tense, as if he was looking for a way to escape this expletive, but there was no escape. Not this time. You are not going to say anything, I told him, the microphone still in my hand. My voice sounded deep, dangerous, as if I was on the verge of losing control. You are not going to explain to your wife why you were screwing mine at our wedding. People let out more exclamations. It was like watching a bomb explode in slow motion. My mother, tears streaming down her face, got closer to my dad. Tell me it is not true, she demanded again with a broken voice. He just lowered his head. He could not even look her in the eyes. Expletive, someone whispered among the guests. My mother was silent for a few seconds as if her brain was trying to process what was happening. Then, suddenly, she slapped him so hard that the sound bounced off the walls of the hall. You are a disgusting man, she yelled at him with a face full of pain and rage. You are an expletive disgrace. My dad closed his eyes tightly, but said nothing. I smiled humorlessly. That is the bravest thing you have done today, I said, not opening your mouth, because if you did you would only sink further. My wife turned to me suddenly, her eyes red and swollen. Please, listen to me. Listen to you. I laughed, feeling my own voice tremble. Listen to you say that it was a mistake, that it meant nothing, because I swear if you say any of that expletive I swear I did not finish the sentence. I could not. My throat was tight, my eyes were burning, and my body was shaking with rage. My best friend came closer, trying to put a hand on my shoulder. Brother, calm down. I shrugged him off abruptly. Do not tell me to calm down, I growled. But just then, another sound took me out of my rage. What is going on here? I turned my head and saw the venue manager approaching with 2 security guards. He looked nervous, uncomfortable, as if he did not know how to handle this. We are getting calls from the neighbors saying there is yelling, that there are problems, he said, looking around. Do you need us to call someone? Someone among the guests murmured, call the police. And that made my wife turn even paler. No, there is no need for that, she said quickly, her voice trembling. Everything is fine, everything is fine. I scoffed. Sure, everything is perfect. My wife screwed my dad at our wedding, my mom threw wine in his face, and I broke his nose. An amazing day. The manager opened his eyes wide in surprise. The guards looked at each other, unsure of what to do. My wife turned to me again, desperate. Please, let us talk privately. Do not do this here, do not do this here. I repeated sarcastically. Are you seriously telling me not to do this here? Did you respect me at our wedding? She remained silent. Exactly, I yelled, pointing my finger at her. You have no right to ask me anything. If you wanted to keep this private, maybe you should not have screwed my father in a damn utility room. More exclamations, more murmurs, more phones recording. Then my dad finally spoke. Son, enough. I turned my head to him so fast that I almost got dizzy. Do not call me son, I spat with disgust. You are not my father anymore. He clenched his jaw, but did not say anything else. The manager sighed and ran a hand over his face. Sir, we need you to leave the event. It took me a second to process what he had just said. Excuse me, the people here are uncomfortable. This has gotten out of control. I laughed, but it was a lifeless laugh. Are you kicking me out of my own wedding? The manager shifted uncomfortably. I am asking you to leave for your own well-being. I felt my stomach clench. I cannot believe this. I turned to my mother, but she was too busy crying, looking at the floor as if she wanted to disappear. I looked at my best friend, but he just lowered his gaze. I looked at the other guests, but they were all avoiding me. No one was going to say anything. No one was going to stop this. My wife was still there, looking at me with her mouth half open as if she wanted to say something, but did not dare. And then I understood. I was the one who did not belong in this scene. I was the only one who was truly out of place at this wedding that had become an expletive disaster. I took a deep breath. I dropped the microphone, which fell to the floor with a thud. I turned and started walking towards the exit. But just as I was crossing the door, someone yelled my name. Wait, I stopped dead in my tracks. My wife's voice sounded desperate, broken, as if she truly believed she had the right to stop me after what she did. I turned around just to see her running towards me. Her heels echoed on the floor, her dress swayed with each step, and her face was bathed in tears. But what hurt me most was the way she looked at me, as if she still loved me, as if she still believed she could save this. Please, she said between sobs, trying to grab my arm. I pulled away so fast I almost made her stumble. Do not touch me. She blinked as if I had slapped her. I need you to listen to me. Her voice trembled. I did not want this to happen like this. I let out a bitter laugh. Like this, how did you want me to discover you at another time? Maybe on our anniversary, or when we were expecting a child? Her face twisted in pain. That is not it. Then tell me what it is, I said through gritted teeth, approaching her with my fists clenched with pure rage. Tell me what the expletive this is. She trembled, opened her mouth, but said nothing, because she had nothing to say. There was no excuse, no justification. Behind her, I saw my dad leave the hall with his shirt still stained with wine and his broken nose. He was looking at us with a tense expression as if he was ready to intervene if something happened. That sent me over the edge. Get out, my wife blinked in confusion. What get out? I repeated with forced calm. Go back to him. Go and finish what you started. You have nothing else to do here. Her breath quickened. Do not say that. Why not? My voice was icy. Does it hurt? Does it make you feel bad? Do you feel betrayed? She sobbed, covering her face with her hands, but I did not care anymore. I turned and kept walking without looking back. I did not know where I was going. I had no idea what to do. I just knew I could not stay there another second. The city was dark, illuminated only by the streetlights and the passing cars. I did not feel the cold night or the pain in my knuckles after hitting my father. I only felt an emptiness in my chest that seemed to be devouring me inside. I walked aimlessly for minutes, maybe hours. My phone was vibrating in my pocket, but I did not check it. I knew they would be messages from my mother, from my best friend, maybe even from my wife. I did not want to know anything. I stopped at a corner, leaning on a lamppost, and there, finally, the weight of everything that had just happened hit me like a damn train. My wife, she had cheated on me with my father at our wedding. I felt like throwing up. I leaned against the post, breathing heavily. My whole life had gone to expletive in a matter of hours. I no longer had a wife, I no longer had a father, and the worst thing was that I no longer had a home, because the house we lived in was hers. I had moved in with her when we got engaged. I had sold my apartment to help pay for the wedding. I had nothing. The thought hit me like a punch in the gut. I was alone, totally expletive and alone. Update 1. 2 weeks have passed. 2 weeks since my life became a story that people tell at family gatherings or write about in internet forums as if it were a damn novel. 2 weeks since I looked in the mirror and did not recognize the person looking back at me. I stayed at my best friend's house for the first few days. I had nowhere else to go. I could not go back to the house I shared with my wife's ex-wife. I do not even know what to call her now. My mother did not want to see me either, because, according to her, every time she saw me, I reminded her of the monster my father had become. And my father, well, I have not heard from him. The first few days were crazy. The news spread like wildfire among family and friends. I do not know how many calls I ignored, how many messages I deleted without reading. The shame and pain were too much. I did not want to face anyone. And then there was the message, the one I received that same night when I was walking aimlessly after the wedding. It was a video of my wife and my father in the utility room. Someone had recorded them. I do not know who it was. I do not know if it was one of the venue employees or a guest unlucky enough to be passing by at the exact moment. But there it was, proof of what I had seen with my own eyes. On one hand, it was like a confirmation that I was not crazy, that everything that happened was not a nightmare invented by my shattered mind. But on the other hand, it was worse. Seeing it again from another angle, seeing the way my wife looked at him, it was not just sex. There was something more, something that made me feel like a complete idiot for not having noticed before. Something that meant that this was not a one-time mistake. I did not know what to do with the video. Should I send it to the whole family? Upload it to the internet? Use it to ruin their lives like they ruined mine? In the end, I did nothing. I just kept watching it over and over again until I felt so empty that I could not even move. 2 weeks have passed since then, and today I finally decided to get up from my friend's couch, take a decent shower, and face reality. I am going to see her. I am going to see her. I do not know what I want to say. I do not know if I want to yell at her, spit in her face, or if I just want to look at her and see if she feels even a little bit of remorse. But I need to do it. The day was cloudy when I stood in front of the house I once called home. It was strange to be there after everything that happened. The facade was the same, the plants at the entrance were still well cared for, and the curtain in the window was still ajar, just the way she liked it. As if nothing had changed, but everything had changed. My heart was pounding as I climbed the porch steps. For a second, I hesitated. Did I really want to do this? I took a deep breath and knocked on the door. The sound of footsteps on the other side made me clench my fists. The door opened, and there she was, my ex-wife. She looked different, dark circles under her eyes, pale face, messy hair. She was wearing a large sweatshirt and her hands were shaking slightly. She looked like she had seen a ghost. You? Her voice was barely a whisper. I did not say anything. I just looked at her. There were a few seconds of unbearable silence until she swallowed and stepped aside, letting me in. I went inside without saying a word. The house smelled the same, but it felt different, empty. I turned to look at her. Talk. She closed her eyes for a second and took a deep breath before looking at me. I am sorry. I let out a dry laugh. Is that all? No? She sighed. But I do not know how to begin. I crossed my arms. Try. She bit her lip and looked down. I did not plan for this to happen. Then tell me how long it had been going on. She trembled. She did not answer. Tell me. A long silence. Then a broken voice. 6 months. My breath caught in my throat. I knew this had not been just a slip-up, but hearing the truth out loud was like being shot in the chest. 6 months, I repeated, feeling the rage rise again. She started to cry. I do not know when it happened. It was not planned, just. My voice hardened. Do you love him? She froze. The question took her by surprise. Me, no. I do not know. You do not know? I repeated incredulously. She lowered her gaze. But if you truly loved me, you would not have done this. She did not answer, and at that moment I understood everything. She was not the woman I thought she was. She never was. I had been living a lie. I took my phone out of my pocket. Look at this. I held it out to her. She hesitated for a second before taking it, and when her eyes fell on the screen, her face became completely distorted. What is this? What someone recorded at our wedding? She turned pale. Someone recorded, yes, I replied emotionlessly. So tell me, what do you think I should do with this? Her eyes filled with terror. No, please. I laughed humorlessly. Now you are worried. Now you care what people think. You do not understand. This could ruin me. You already ruined me. She flinched at my words. A heavy silence filled the room. I am not going to publish it, I said finally. Not because you deserve it, but because I do not want my life to continue revolving around this. She let out a shaky sigh as if she truly believed that saved her. But there was no salvation for her. This is the last thing you are going to hear from me, I said coldly. I hope the expletive you did haunts you for the rest of your life. I turned around and walked to the door. Wait, her voice sounded broken. Is there really no way to fix this? I stopped for a second, then turned my head and gave her one last look. Never. And with that, I walked out of the house and closed the door behind me. I did not look back.